let's begin.
Deep dive more on contact yourself. Deep dive more.
Okay, cool. All right. So we had tried to do a thing on Thursday, me and Matthew, morning. But the video quality, it does lag. And I mean, you could hear the audio, but it just does lag morning. It just did a lag.
Would that even possible with less people?
It's not even the number of people, it's just my computer. I had to uninstall OBS and reinstall it.
Oh no.
Like I thought the problem was the amount of space on my machine.
Is the machine itself?
No, I think it was OBS. I don't think it was the machine. Either way, let's see if we're good now, because I uninstalled OBS, reinstalled it, and I did a few tests, and it seemed stable. So we're going to see if everything works well. All right. So what I'd done, or the attempt that I made, was to go through, I think it was update and delete, right? Or rather not update, but put, patch, and delete using a database.
Yes.
So I'm going to go through that again with the help of some notes. Come.
I come to realize that in writing the app get app put. After you open the square bracket, they put the square bracket, they put the active and record and the square ID. You put the space in between the square bracket and the record to the dash.
You have to show me that. I'm not sure you mean. Show me that. 1 sec. Come again. You say in the top line where you have app.put. Which square bracket you attack? Okay, where am I? Okay. All right. So we're going to start off. Yeah, I think we'd have done post and get already. Let me see if I can find my code so I can just copy some of it out. This is ECC or whatever. Is this it? Yeah, this is patch, so I can open a new one. This is week 6. That looks so. That means mid-semester soon. Next month? That's funny. All right, so setup as usual. New file app.py. And then we Python -m. Oh, I wonder if anybody wants the call. right, so Python minus m venv venv. Okay, and then I'm going to set this to that, close this, open it back. Pip install, what do I need? UV, oops, what just happened? Pip install UV corn, fast API and Moto. Why don't you come to fast API? So it should install itself. All right, in the meantime, I'm going to copy over the patch, the post and the get request. So this is the get. A few more lines from up here. All right. Okay. Oh, and there's some more setup that we need to do up here. I would have gone through the setup for MongoDB already. So that you can just copy out from a previous sketch if you have it. I also need Moto. So all that stuff should work. Project, oh, I need my project model. There are a lot of stuff. From where does field come from again, Pydantic? I need to type in. Okay. All right. So we can start by working on the put request. We're going to the put, patch, and delete. So let's start with put. So we do our @app.put, and we will create a route. Since we're working on projects before, we'll continue working with projects. And for a put request, we need to specify which particular object we want to alter. So I'll put a project ID so that the application knows which one we want to alter. ID. And I'm going to define. I talked about async definitions, right? Async functions. Use async functions when we want to be able to make a call to a function that has an unpredictable completion time. Python doesn't know how long it's going to take for us to access the database and retrieve a document or make a change to a document. So we'll have to wait for it. Okay, async def. I'm going to call this replace project. and we will take a project ID and also the request. So we take the project ID, and that is a string, and we also take the request body. So the request body should come in the form of not a project itself, because when you're making an update to a project, you're not going to send the ID, or rather you're not going to put the, well, you wouldn't put ID anyway. What was the model that we had? So we have, in the model, we'll have a title, a description, engineer, and a status. We're not expecting the user to send an ID or a created at. We're only expecting them to send these 4 things, because these are the only 4 things that they should be allowed to alter. So in that case, we need to create a new model that accepts only those 4 fields in our project. I need to import base model as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new model and call it project update. So a project update should have a title, which is a string, should have a description. Let me just copy these. Should just be able to copy those and put them there. And that should be it for our project update, right? Let me see. Right. So a project update just needs to be a title, a description, an engineer, and a status. So when the user makes a request to our API, they should have these 4 things in the request body. So since we have the project update type set up now, we can specify that our project update, which in this case I will call an update, should be of class project update. So, okay. We good with that so far? Understand why I had to make a new model? The original project model will take some values, but it will set some defaults. It will set the ID, and it will set the created at. But for the project update, we're not setting any defaults. We're just taking what the user gives to us, and if it's valid, then we take those fields that they sent and overwrite the existing fields of the found project. So that's why we don't take the ID or the created at for a project update. Okay, so now that we have all that part set up, here's what we're going to do. We are going to start by immediately attempting to make the update. And when we make the update in MongoDB, MongoDB is going to return a result, the result of the update or the attempt to an update. And when I say result, I'm not talking about the actual updated object. It's not going to return that. It's going to give us information about what happened during the update. And you can think about this in terms of MySQL. When you use the update query in MySQL, usually the output would be something like 1 row updated or 1 row changed or something like that. That's the information SQL provides to you to tell you that whatever it is you're trying to do, this is how many things were changed. So that's one of the things that we're going to be getting back when we perform the update. And we're going to be using that to check to see if it actually updated. So I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call it result. Set that equal to await. Anytime we're doing something database related, we have to await. So we're going to say DB, and the collection is called projects, and we're going to perform an update 1. So we're updating a single object by using its ID. So I'm going to specify here that I want to update it by ID of this particular ID, which is a project ID. And then we specify what we want to do when we find that object. So what we want to do is we want to set the fields of the found object to be replaced by this update. So MongoDB asks that we specify this set operator. This is how we tell MongoDB what exactly it is we're trying to do. So we use a set operator, and then we tell it that we want to set the values in this update. So I'm going to say update.model dump. The reason why we have to use model dump is because at this point here, I don't think I need this. And I can zoom in, and I don't need this. So yeah, at this point, what we're doing is we're looking for an ID that has this ID, or rather, we're looking for an object that has this ID in the database, and we're telling it, if you find it, take this update that the user sent and set it. But we had to do a model dump here because the update that we send or we apply to MongoDB cannot be of type project update, which is a Pydantic type or Pydantic class. That's specific to Python. MongoDB don't want the Python, or it doesn't want the Pydantic object. We're not going to be able to interpret the Pydantic object. We have to turn it into a dictionary because MongoDB knows how to interpret a dictionary. Yeah? So we have to convert it to a dictionary using model dump and then reset it. Yeah? Okay. So after that's done, assuming we don't get any errors, we should get back a result. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to check to see if the number of rows that were altered is equal to 0. Meaning we're going to check to see if it could not find anything to update. The reason we're going to do that is because we need to tell the user, if we made an attempt to update something and we couldn't find it, we need to return an error. So I'm going to say if result dot matched count is equal to 0. So this is if it could not find anything to update. So this is result here, and we're using the matched count property of result. If it didn't find anything to update and it just returned 0, then we need to raise. Yeah? And in this point, depending on whatever my instruction is to you, like if you're doing a lab or whatever it is you want to do in your project, if it's a case where you make a request to update a project, or an entity, and you give it an ID and it can't find it, if it can't find it, you can either choose to raise a 404, or you can do what the RFC documentation says you can do as well, which is to take the update and just create a new object and store it in the database same time. So this is the point where you would do that. If you are trying to make an update and this is 0, this means that whatever it is you're trying to update, it couldn't find it, so it never update nothing. You could then go here and say, all right, since you never find nothing, create a new object here and then store it in the database. Yeah? But instead, what we're going to do is just going to tell them that we couldn't find the thing you're trying to update, and we're going to return a 404. So I will say HTTP exception status code status dot HTTP underscore 404. And also I'm going to return a message that says project not found. Why is it complaining? Because I don't have detail here. It's detail, right? Yeah, detail project not found. All good up to this point? And remember what we said about raise. Raise does the same thing as return. So if it actually gets to this point, the function will stop. It will not perform whatever comes below. So that means if this does not equal to 0, we skip over this and we'll just move on to this line. So if it's not 0, that means it actually updated something. Hopefully, it means it only updated one thing. And you can do your checks to see if it only updated one thing. If it updated more than one thing, you can handle it that way, or you can handle it a certain way. I'm not sure what you do in that case, because if we're specifying the project ID, and the project ID is supposed to be unique, and it updated more than one thing, then something wrong. But if we only updated one thing, oh, actually, that doesn't even make sense, because we're using the update one function. The update one function will only ever update a single entity. So if it finds more than one, it will only update the first one it sees. Yeah? So yeah, at this point, we assume that if it skips over this line of code, it actually updated the entity that we wanted to update. So what we'll do is we'll go back into the database, find that object, and then return it. DB find one of ID, project ID, and also to ignore the underscore ID because we don't need that. 0. And then we can return doc. Yeah. Okay, so let's step through this. We did a few things. As soon as the function starts, we'll make an attempt to update it. After we update the document, assuming we found it, or even if we didn't find it, we check to see what was updated or if something was updated. This tells us how many things were updated after this update is performed. If nothing was updated, we raise. But if something was updated, we go back in the database, find the thing that was updated, and then return it. Yeah? Clear? Questions? All right. Are you guys working from another document like me where you have your post and your get already, or you're working from a brand new one? If it's brand new, you may not be able to test it out, because in order for you to test something, you have to have your post and your get already.
So this was from last class?
Yeah, this is when I was doing post and get. So you should have that code. If you want to test out, you can. But if you just want to follow along, then that's fine. Yeah, you can probably test on your own time. All right, sure. Let's see. Let me put the put that I just made as well. Let's see. So there's that. So I put in the WhatsApp a while ago. You can try it out. You want me to wait while you try it out or move on to patch? Move on. All right, let's do patch. So, same formula at app.patch. Actually, before that, should we test out first? Let me test out myself to make sure that my code works. So I will start my application by using uvicorn app -- reload. I'll pull up Postman meantime. Okay, it looks like I should already have free plan has been updated. I've updated our plans in your workspace. Unlimited collection runs. All right, cool. Okay, so let me see. Do I have any projects in my database currently? Let's see. I should. Okay, so I got some stuff in the database. I seem to have 4 or 5 things in the database. And this is stuff that I would have created while I was making an attempt to make this recording last week. So let's make a change to one of them. Look at this one here. It has an ID, a title, we want to put tasty at UE. Description is just read the title, and the engineer is our mom. Yeah? So what I'll do is I'll change the description to be something more understandable. So I need to copy these 4 things. I also need the ID. Let me just copy the ID since I have it in front of me. And I'll go to my put, which is here. Oh. Okay. Oh, I don't need this ID. All right, so I said that the original document had a description of just read the title, but I want to make that more descriptive. Actually, let me do a GET request just to make sure that we're updating the correct document. So let me use this to get the get project by ID function. And we get a singular entity here, yeah? And then now we should be able to go back to put and change this. So students want variety. Right? And also this engineer needs to be more appropriate. Sir. Thanks. Yeah, so we'll make this change. And according to our function, the way we wrote it, it would have made that change. So the description is different. We change the engineer. But let's actually perform a GET request to confirm that it actually did it. Right? So perform a GET request here with the same ID, and it should have changed. Yeah? So this should confirm that it actually went into the database, searched for an object of this particular ID, and it returns it here. Yeah? So that is the put request. Patch request similar. But before I go on to it, any questions? That's okay?
Could you go to the top of the code?
Top of the code. All good? Okay, so patch now. On comment. So we're going to make a patch request to /projects /project ID as usual _ID. And we're going to async def. And we'll call this one partial update project. And that will also take the project ID as a string. But there's one more thing that we need to take as well, just like with the other function where we took a project update or an update of class project update. But here's the difference. Where if we take a partial update from the user, a partial update needs to be, like the name says, a partial update, meaning we should allow the user to send just a description or just a title or just a engineer. What was the other one? Or just a progress, what was it? Status, yeah? Or a title and a description, or a title and an engineer, or a title and a status, or a description and an engineer, description and a status, or any subset of what we have available. So it needs to allow them to send one thing, or two things, or three things, or all four things. And we can't do that at the moment with this particular class, the project update class, because at the moment it says that all these fields here are required. So we need to make another model that allows for optional fields. And we can do that simply by doing this. So I'll call this a partial update. Where's the partial project? What was it again? I had called it a project patch. And so for the project patch, it needs to take all these four things, but not just like this, because I need to make sure that they are optional. And to make them optional, I will say that they should either be a string or none. And the default value, if it is none, should be none. So that's what this is. There was some code that I'd found when I was doing this recording last time that makes this, in my opinion, a little bit more understandable, but it required I import another library, and I was kind of running from importing another library. But I think it actually might be worth showing you that, because it is a little bit simpler. It makes the syntax more readable, because string bar none equal none look kind of confusing to me still. If it's not confusing to you, you can use it. But we can use this instead. So we go into our imports and we import a library called typing. So we say from typing and we import optional. Yeah? So we have this keyword called optional. Yeah? And instead of writing all of this, we could simply say, where is it? Instead of putting all of this, we can just say optional string. But we still need to specify the default value, which is none. Yeah? So I can just copy this, put that there. Shoot. Sorry. Yeah, I can't spell any day. Yeah. Oops. Sure. So what this is doing is telling Python or telling Pydantic that the field for each one of these is optional. And in it being optional, if it is not set, because it doesn't have to be set, it needs to put a default value. Because the field is there in the Pydantic project-based model. So if it isn't set, it needs to put a value. So we set it to be equal to none if it is not set. Okay. So since we have them set up as optional now, we can go back here and we can specify that the function must take a partial project, or a project patch, I think it was called. Project patch. So the partial update is of type project patch. Okay, so we can go straight into it. So just like with the put function, we will immediately make an attempt to update the object. So we'll say patch, wait, let me not call it patch. Oh, no, we don't immediately go right into it. First, we need to set up our object that we are going to set as our update. The setup that we need to do is we need to convert it first from a Pydantic model into a dictionary. So I'm going to say patch data. And we're going to take the partial update and we're going to model dump it. But we're not just going to model dump it regular like normal. We have to specify that when we convert it from a Pydantic object into a dictionary, the values that are not set, we need to exclude them. So they should not be included in the dictionary upon creation. So I'm going to set exclude unset equal to true. So what this looks like is something like this. We have a dictionary that may have a title, or let's set that equal to none. Description, set that equal to, this is the description of a status. And we have an engineer. All right. If this, for example, was the patch that was being sent, and the person only in their request object sent these three things, then Pydantic will automatically fill in the title and set it to none for us because that's the default value. If we take this as the object to update, it will take the title being none and it will set the title to none in the database. If we want it to do that, sure, that's okay, but we don't want it to do that because it needs to have a title. So what we need to do here, when we use model dump exclude unset is true, we're saying that if any of these values here are set to none or if they're unset, we need to remove it from the patch. So we need to take it from looking like this and make it look like this instead. So that it becomes, so that the title that was set to none is not there at all. That way, when we apply the update, it will just take the things that it sees and update the ones in the database. Instead of taking the title that was none and then setting the title in the database to none. We don't want that. So that's what I mean when I say exclude unset. So this value here is unset, we're going to exclude it. So we're converting it from a pedantic model to a dictionary. Okay, so I've done that, and now I have my patch data, which is a dictionary. And then what I can do, where's my note? I can check. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a check to see if the person accidentally sent this as their patch, just empty curly brackets. Because if them send empty curly brackets, what that would do is it would set all of the fields to none. That means we'd be changing the existing document to just have none, 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 none. We don't want that. So we need to catch that. We're going to say if not patch data. What happens is patch data, if it's just an empty curly bracket, you know how like in C, if you want to check this, if you want to, there you go. Like if you want to have an infinite loop, you don't have to say you don't have to say while true. You can say while one in C. It is because in C, oh yeah, one over? Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So you don't have to say while true. You can just say while one. And the reason for that is because in C, it is not to say that 1 is equal to true. They're not the same value. But you have this thing in programming called falsy and truthy, different from true and false. So true is true and false is false. But 1 is truthy. 1 is not true, but it is truthy. Meaning, if you check to see, you can use 1, the number 1 as a value, in an if statement. And if you say if 1, then it will go true because 1 is not false or falsy, it's truthy. So 1, any positive number is any positive number, I think it's any number that's not 0 is truthy. I believe. I'm not sure if negative numbers are truthy, I would have to check that, but I'm not sure. So what we're doing here is we're saying if patch data, or rather if not patch data. We're saying not because we wanted to check to see if the person made a mistake and did this. Just sent this as their request object. This, empty curly brackets, is falsy. It is falsy because it's just empty curly brackets with no information in it. So it is falsy. So, if this is the value that them send, this would be falsy, which equates to a false. And we want to say if not false, which is if true. So if the person send this, which is this, we change it to true, which is basically us checking to see if it is empty. And if it is empty, then we need to raise. And when we raise, in this case here, we're not raising and saying 404 because we're not checking to see if the thing that they sent is missing or not. We're checking to see if the thing that they sent is valid. And if it is invalid, we need to tell them that they sent a bad request. And that is a 400. And in the message or in the detail, we can tell them no fields provided in update. No fields provided in update or patch rather. Yeah. So this is checking to see if the person sent just empty curly brackets. Yeah. So if the person just sent empty curly brackets, then we raise. But if this value is true, meaning it has some data in the curly brackets, then the not will turn it into false, and then this will not run. It will just skip it over and come to the next line. It makes sense? Remember, for if statement, in order for this particular line to run, this condition needs to be true. You need to resolve to true. So this is a falsy value. Falsy means it will return a false. So if it is not false is true. So if it is true, then it do this. But if this is a truthy value, this will turn it into a false. So if false, don't do this. Yeah. So now, at this point here, we should know that whatever it is that we're getting from the client, it is a valid value. And we should be able to just go ahead and, one sec. Where is the code? Oh. We can actually perform the update now. Let me see something. Where am I? This is patch. Oh. Okay, so we can now perform the update. So we set up our result just like last time so that we can capture and see what happened after we performed the update. Await, and then we use the same function, which is db square bracket projects dot update one. No, update one. And we're updating by searching for the ID. Oops, need my curly braces. ID is equal to project ID. And the thing that we're updating, we use a set operator to set it. And there are other operators that you can use in MongoDB. I don't know exactly what they are. I just know that if you want to update something, we use set. And we will take the project, the partial project, or and then we just say patch data. And at this point, we don't need to do any model dumping because up here, we already did the model dump. Because this was us conditioning the object to exclude any of the unset fields. So we already have patch data that is already model dumped. So we can just set the patch data as is because it's already a dictionary. Yeah? So with that being done, we have a result. And we should be able to check to see if the thing that we're trying to update was updated by saying if result. By the way, I'm not sure if this would help, but if this makes it easier to understand, you can put your brackets around it. I don't know if that can make it easier.
Does it matter to the program itself?
In this case, no, it doesn't matter. Because we don't have more than one condition in this case. The not can only apply to this. There's nothing else up there for it to apply to. So if it's just for organizational sake, you can do that. This now, same thing. You put your brackets. So if result matched, what's it again? Matched count is equal to 0, then matched count is equal to 0. If it's equal to 0, it means, once again, that it tried to update something and it wasn't there. It did not find it. So I'll just copy and paste this. Change my status code to 404. Oops. And then we put a message and say, no projects found. Project not found. Found. Yeah? Okay, so those are two checks that we had to do. One, to see if the patch that was sent was empty. If it's not empty, then we perform the update. Once we perform the update, we check to see if it actually updates something. If it didn't, we raise. But if it does, then we can go back into the database. Doc equal to await db find one. Oops. Find one, and we search by the ID, project ID, and we remember to exclude the underscore ID because we don't need that. And then once we found it, we can just return it. So that's the function. Is it straightforward? We condition our object, check to see if it's empty. If it's not empty, we perform the update. We check to see if nothing got updated. If something got updated, then we'll find it back in the database, return it. Let's test it. Okay. So I have a patch. Let me update this. Before I get request, check to see if it's still there, and it should be. All right, so it's there. I'll copy this ID, and what we'll change about it is the title. Let's change the title. Because at the moment, it looks like the title not getting the respect that it deserves. So let's change it. And instead of just tasty at UE, we will say tasty with a capital T. Tasty, or tasty actually name is Tasty Patty, or is that name for two? Tasty Patty, or is it just tasty? Oh, it's just tasty. All right, so just tasty at the University of the West Indies. West Indies. Oh, thank you. The of the West Indies, yeah. So we wanted to just set this. And because it's a patch, we don't need to specify all the other values, because patch can be partial. You just set a title, or you just set a description, or you just set a status, or an engineer, or any subset of those. So I'm just going to set this alone. And it should allow me to send it and get back an update. And only that particular thing has changed. Only that's changed. Everything else was the same. All right? Let's do a GET request to make sure that it's actually there. This update is, or rather this document is 22D3. Do GET. There it is. It's changed. Just that has changed. Yeah? Okay. Delete requests. Just checking in, not good? All right, straightforward? Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Delete request now. Delete request is relatively simple in comparison. This one? Oops, sorry, hold on. Okay, so the delete request is 2 lines of code. Or 2 lines inside the body, that is. So we'll have the delete app.delete as usual, and we specify the route, which is /projects/ and then the project ID. All right, and we async def. We say delete project. Okay, the only thing we need to take in this case is just the ID. We don't need any model for this, because we're not sending any information other than just the ID, which is a string in the URL. Because in order for us to delete something, all we need to say is which one. And we're not doing any updates or anything like that. So we'll just specify the ID. So this is where the 2 lines of code part come in. Well, I mean, you could do that, but that's not the code that we're going to write. And if we were to do that, it wouldn't actually perform a delete. It would just remove the ID from the object. So I'm going to write the code for it to look for an object that has this ID, and when I find it, delete it. So I'm going to say result is equal to await db square bracket, wait, if I say db, oh, I can just do that, okay, cool. And then delete one, And which one are we deleting? The one that has the ID of ID or project ID. Oh, I said 2 lines. It's 3 lines. Because we need an if statement. So this is us performing the delete. And now, just like with the patch and the put, we need to go back and check to see if the thing that we're trying to delete actually got deleted. So we'll use the result. And in this case, we're not using matched, matched count. What we're doing is we're going to say deleted count. So we're checking to see the number of things that got deleted. If it's 0, that means it never find nothing for deleted. So we need to account for that. If deleted count is equal to 0, then we need to raise and tell them not no go so. Let me just copy this because this one's a 404. Paste that. Oops. Yeah. So we use deleted count to check to see if anything, if we perform a delete, we get back a result. And the property inside of the result, there's a property called deleted count.
Okay.
Yeah. If nothing was deleted, meaning the deleted count is 0, tell them couldn't find nothing for delete. Or the 404. Yeah. But if it is not 0, if it is 1, and it should be 1 because we're just deleting 1, then actually that's it. Because, all right, we don't need to write any more code because at this point, by default, Fast API says if you have a function that performs some actions and doesn't return anything, then it will automatically just return a 200. The problem with that is we don't want it to return a 200 because then this function would not be following the RFC documentation. RFC documentation says when you delete something, send back a 204 with no content.
It does return none.
So, no, don't return none. Would that work? I think if you return none and you do it in Postman, I think you'd see null in the response, which is a value. So we don't want that.
Okay.
So there are 2 ways we can do this. And this first way I don't really love. Question? Yes. Project patch. Here. No, not the same. The difference is every field is optional and has a default value of none.
They type in something.
Yeah. You don't have to. I was just showing the different ways you could do it. Yeah. So you can say string or none equal none. So you can do it that way as well. So anyway, same thing. Right. So, yeah, like I said, since we haven't returned anything, assuming that this doesn't happen, then it will just return a 200. But we want it specifically to return a 204. So we can create a custom response object and say return response and set the status code to 204.
So you know that we open up the lead project.
Very good. We could. So that's one way of doing it. We could do this and stop there. But what we could do as well is we can specify a default. This is up here, so you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can specify a default status code of the same thing. Status.
So the 204 would represent no content.
Correct. Yeah. So 204 means no content. So what you're doing here is you're setting up this function to have some default values or some default behavior. It's supposed to be triggered by this URL, and the default response code should be a 204. And if you have this, you don't need this here. Having the two of them would be redundant. Yeah?
So in this case, we just have return then.
No, you don't need anything at all.
Oh.
Because in Fast API, a function does not need a return. Because if you don't have a return, it will just return something for you. It will just return the default. Yeah?
What did we put in?
Just the word return alone? Let's see. I don't know. I have a clue. Return. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So let's just delete this particular one. That's a tasty. So we're not get tasty on campus again. Let's delete. Let's see what happens. Oh, all right, it worked, I guess. I got a 204. It didn't crash. And we get empty. Nothing there. This one is not the response. It's just the line numbers. Yeah? Yeah. So yeah. But I feel like it's not necessary. You can put it there if you want. Yeah, I understand. Right. I fully get you. You know what I think happened? I think because the default response is a 204, whatever you return, it just won't send it. Because it know that 204 means no content. So if I go like this and say return, this is some content, I think it will just ignore it. I can't, let me see this again and see the 404. This should 404 because I already deleted the thing. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, 404 because it already deleted. So I need to find another one to delete. Let me get all projects. And Pizza Hut on campus. So no Pizza Hut for you guys. Delete project. Yeah, it didn't send back the response. Because it knows that 204 means no content. So what that means then is that I have reason to take off marks if I see somebody return a 204 and have some return.
No, sir.
I mean, you're supposed to know.
Because it doesn't change it.
It doesn't change it, but you're supposed to. Then what the code for then? Why you have an unnecessary line of code? I can't take off marks. No. You can just go so. You can literally just not return anything. Yeah. What do you mean? Return the words no content? But that's content. The words no content is content. It's supposed to return no content. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, that is it for CRUD. We've gone through put, patch, delete, and we did post and get from before. We did two different types of get. We did get all, and we did get by ID. And one thing I want to specify is that the way that we write the code is not how things have to be done when you're writing your API. Your API is going to be custom to what your project's supposed to do. So that means then that I showed you how you could particularly get back a specific object of a specific criteria. The criteria I chose is get it by ID. And I showed you how you can specify what your criteria is. It is not to say that when you're writing your code, you have to only allow a person to get back an object by its ID. Let's say, for instance, you want to have a function that returns all the projects that are of the completed status. Then you'd expect the user, in addition to, well, you'd write a different function, and you wouldn't expect them to put the ID. If you wanted to return all the objects that have the completed status, instead of putting project ID here, you'd put status or something. There is a cleaner way of having them specify what the status they want. I wouldn't want you to put in the URL or not like this, because that's a URL parameter. And URL parameters shouldn't have values like that. Putting it as the ID is fine, but I prefer if you use a query parameter, and I can show you what a query parameter looks like in a second. But let's say, for instance, you use the URL parameter, and you specify the status right here. So you could go into a database and not use find one, you'd use find instead, and specify status colon, whatever the status is, then put. Ignore that. Ignore it as in just remove the underscore ID. And then that should return a list of all the things that have a status of completed or whatever it is you put. Yeah? So it's up to you to write your code the way that your project should have it. So I'm just showing you the tools that you would use in order to go about returning a particular document this way. But the code works for any scenario, as long as the scenario is reasonable. Yeah? So if it's a project and you want it to return all the completed ones, or if it's not just the completed ones, you could have a function that says return projects by status. And you have the user specify whatever status they want to return. If then put completed, it will return all the completed ones. If it's ongoing, it will return all the ongoing ones, and so on and so forth.
Sir,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, where that equal away DB, can you put a space in between the square bracket and the...
Oh.
Put a space in between.
Here?
Yeah.
Right here, so? Wait.
Yeah.
Right here, so?
I'm trying.
Like this?
Yeah.
This should work. I don't see why that wouldn't work. This is what again? This is get. It should work. If it's a case where you had the space inside the double quotes, then I can understand why that wouldn't work. But this should work. Project not found. Let me see if it's actually in there. Yeah, this is 22D3. I think we deleted that one. Let's do a get all. Okay, so this one here definitely exists. And then get by ID. Yeah, I find it. So it works. Yeah, so I think the issue would come about if you had the space here. That would be a problem. Because what you're doing is you're saying, yeah, exactly, you're looking for a collection that is called space projects.
Okay,
and that would only work if you were doing projects in space, right? Right. So putting that there, that shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Okay, a few other things. One of the things I wanted to show as well, for making your API more robust, in a case like this, we have a status. And you would want to make it so that the status can either be ongoing, not started, completed, or maybe on pause. If a person put a status banana, what that mean? That don't have any significant meaning. I mean, so what we need to do is we need to harden our application. We need to make it more robust so that it does not accept any foo-foo values. Eh? Get me? All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a change to my project to make it so that it only accepts certain values for the status. In this example code, or the code I wrote last time, we have this object, this keyword called literal. And literal comes from the typing library. As what? I think it's validate with less steps. And I'm going to show validate in a second. Yeah, validate is definitely longer. So literal, I need to import this from the typing library. So from typing, we import literal. And then now we have this keyword called literal, where we can specify all of the valid values for a status. It's not started, ongoing, completed, and on pause. Right. If we type something outside of that, we'll get an error. Let's test. Oh, and what you want to do in a case like this is you want to specify that option for the project itself and the project update and also the patch. Yeah. You want to specify for all of them because you want to make sure that no matter what they're trying to do, whether they're trying to create a new project or update an existing one, it needs to accept this particular set of options. For this, you would put it here. I think it's inside here as well. Optional literal. Is that right? Let me check. For the patch. I think so. We'll test it and we'll see. So inside the optional brackets, you put the literal or none. Okay, so let's go to the patch. Let's go to the create. So creating a new one. And the status is, I'm going to put not start, which is invalid according to our code. So if I run this, we should get back an error.
On
that says we have a literal error. A literal error. Where's the error? In the body. Where in the body? The status. Why? The input should be not started, ongoing, completed, or on pause. What you have? Not start. Expected, one of those. Yeah? So the error is telling you what the issue is. Is that? Absolutely. Knowing how to read these things is terribly important. Exactly, yeah. Just read it like English, right? Yeah. So we can fix it now by going and changing this back to not started. And now it should work. I assume because I'm on the free tier of MongoDB, that's why it's so slow. Or maybe it's just campus Wi-Fi. Oh, and there's something else I forgot to show. From last class when I was, or did I show that? I don't remember. When I was creating the post request, I think I had it default 200 OK. I would have changed it to make it so that 201. Maybe I did that from last class. Maybe that's why that's there. What did I say a while ago? Oh, 201 created, you say? Oh, okay. So the post request, yeah. So you can specify the default. The default status code is 201 created, and then you just return the project. Yeah? So I think one way I showed you from last time before we got to databases is when you want to set a custom status code, you have to create a custom JSON response. And in the JSON response, you set the content and then you set the status code. But that's more lines. That's you having to import a new library. Or not a new library because we already have the library. But importing a new keyword or a new object. Instead of just going like, return the object as you have it, and then set the status code to 201 created. Cleaner in my opinion. Yeah? Okay. So since it works for the post, it should work for each of the others, I assume. Okay, as Cynthia mentioned validate a while ago, let's look at an example where we validate. And what I mean by validate. Okay, so Pydantic already does its validation. When you're creating a new object, or a new project in this case, it will check to see that there's a title. That's from the last one. Let me go back to this one. So it checks to see that a project has a title, a description, an engineer, and we added this literal a while ago to make sure that it only has one of these 4 values. And that's a base validation that it does for us. But let's say, for instance, we want to add some custom validation. We want to make it so that a person cannot specify a title to just be a singular character. Like if a person go in and put the title to be G, that's illegal. We can't do that. We have a proper setup and we want the title to be descriptive of the project itself. So at the moment as it is right now, since it's just a string, title can just be a string. It can take anything as long as it's in double quotes. It don't matter what it is. So we're going to change that. We're going to make it more robust. So we're going to add a function. We're going to write a validation function up here. And my function will look like this. Let me see. Where's my code? Let me just copy this. Copy that. So I have a function. Regular Python function. I call it validate title. It takes a value as input, and that value is a string. I'm going to use Python to check to see what the length of the string is. So I use a function called len, which returns the length of a string. And I say, if the length is equal to 1, meaning if it's just a singular character long, raise a value error. And this value error is built into Python, so you don't have to import anything. I raise a value error that says title must be more than 1 character long. That is if the character length is just 1. But if it isn't just 1, if it's more than 1, just return the value. I feel like this would also pass if it was a character length of 0, which is not good. I should have, I don't think I need an or, I just need to say less than 2. Is that complicated? If it's less than 2. So that means it would raise if it's 1 or if it's 0. And I don't think it can be negative. I think so. So as long as it is greater than 2, it will pass. If it's less than 2, it would raise.
So let's say return what it return.
It would return it back to the object.
So as long as the content is greater than 2 characters.
Yes. The content of the title specifically. I'm going to show you how to apply it to the title. Yeah, because right now it's, yeah, I can try that. To apply it to the title, we use this. So we replace string with all of this. And I need to import annotated. Annotated also comes from the typing library. Let me show you. So typing has annotated, literal, and optional. And we specify the after validator. Let me explain what that means. Let me import this. Get that from Pydantic. So after validator comes from Pydantic. Yeah. So we specify annotated. So annotated allows us to put a function as the return type. Or not the return type, but something that is supposed to be compared against before it is returned. So we say annotated, and the default is a string. So we're saying that it's supposed to be a string, but in addition to it being a string, it also needs to be validated after Pydantic does its validation. So Pydantic will do its own validation first. And the Pydantic validation is, make sure it's a string. All right, so it's a string, cool, no errors. But I need it to be more than just a string. I need to make sure that it's a string of a particular length. So this function is this function. Yeah? So after Pydantic say, all right, good, it's a string, make me check it. Make validate title check it. It's a string, fine. Since you say it's a string, I'll accept your word, it's a string, but is it greater than 2 characters though? If it's not greater than 2 characters, we don't want that. We return an error and we do not do anything else further. But if it is greater than 2, fine, return it back to here so and store it in title. If it's less than 2, let's test it. Question? If the length of the title is less than 2, yeah, meaning if it's 1 or 0, then we return an error. But if it is greater than, if it's 2 or greater, then it's fine. Yeah. And that 2 is arbitrary. Come again? It can be any number, exactly. Whatever your project wants it to be. So let's create a new project and let's specify that the title is F. Oh, all right, man. So let's just specify that the title is F and send that. And we get an error. And the error says that there is a value error. Where is the value error? It is in the body. So location, it's in the body. Where in the body? The title. What happened to it? Value error. Title must be more than 1 character long. And this message is the message that we typed in the value error. The input is F. And yeah, that's it. So it's telling us what we typed, what we did wrong. This return object, yes. Is Pydantic? No, I think it's Fast API. Fast API returns it. Yeah. Yes. The location of the error. Specifically the bottle, but where in the body? The title. Yeah. And then what is the message? What is wrong with it? Value error. The title must be, yeah. I think that means context, but I'm not sure. Yeah, there's an error. I don't know. I'm not sure what this part is for. Yeah. So yeah, this message that we have here that says title must be more than 1 character long is what we typed here in the value error. So if we change this, it will change in the error. Yeah. And once again, we'd want to make sure that this is here, not just in the project model, but also, oh, this is the wrong code, also in the project update model and the project patch model to make sure that anytime anybody is making any request that accepts a string or accepts a title, it needs to be validated against our custom validator. Yeah. Let me test and see what happens if it is blank. If it is, there's nothing in it. So if it is a content length of 0. Yeah, same thing. So it must be that long. All right. Cool. What else did I have? So at custom validation, I had the literal thing. So this is custom validation. That's the enumerated values. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, I remember what the other thing was. The other thing, very, very important. And this is something that's important for, well, I mean, not just my class. I'm teaching you in this class because it's important outside of my class. Remember how I told you that it is okay for you to post your code to GitHub in a public repository as long as you don't have any sensitive information in there? This is very sensitive information. This connect string to your database. If I post this to GitHub, or if I post this video to YouTube, anybody can look at my code, see my connect string, and they can just get free access to the database, as long as the database allows them to access based on their IP address. So at the moment, because my IP address, or rather, one change that I've made since the last class is I would have gone into my database and made it so that it is allowed to access from any IP address. Because I'm moving from between school and home and work and whatever. So I want to be able to access it from my laptop anywhere. So since I have that part opened up, I need to make sure that my username and password stay secure. At the moment, it is not secure. You can just look on my code and see it. So we need to change that. We need to remove the code, or rather remove the connect string from the code entirely. What we need to do is instead have the code look in a configuration file, and that configuration file should not be in your repository. Yeah? So I'm going to show you how to do that. Environment, env. Yes, that's correct. So we're going to install a new library. I'll explain what it does. The library is called Python-.env. I'll explain what that means. .env is going to be the name of a file that we will create in our workspace with a name of .env. And what this will do is it will allow us to create what are known as environment variables. These are variables that store some value that are specific to the environment that we are writing our code in, or that we're running the code in. So I'm going to create a key value pair, set that equal to that. So I have a key value pair in my .env file. It is mongo_URI, and it is equal to my connection string. This file, the .env file, should not be included in the repo. So ideally, when you create your .gitignore, if you have one, .gitignore, you should add that to it. So you're supposed to have that. You're supposed to have your double pi cache, and your venv. So these three things should not be uploaded specifically, among other things, but these three things definitely should not be uploaded. So now that we have this here in our .env file, and we are not going to include it in our Git repository, it can remain in your code locally on your machine, but we now need to tell Python that there exists an env file, and we need to pull that configuration from the env file. So we will use that library that we just installed a while ago called the .env. Oh, and by the way, remember that whenever you install a new library, you always pip freeze it to the requirements. I forgot to put my requirements, so I can just do it now. That I don't know how to do. Maybe I can, but I don't know how to do it. Requirements.txt. Spell it right? Requirements.txt. So it's going to freeze it to the requirements file. So now I have everything in there, including .env. Yeah? So it's there. So now I can go into my code and I can say from .env import, it's called load. It's not, hold on, it's called load value or .env values. .env values. Right? So then now, instead of putting the literal string here for Mongo equal URI, I will put, where is it? Oh, actually I need to do this first. So I need to specify that I have a config, and I need to say where that configuration file lives. So I have a variable here called config, and I will call the function I just imported a while ago, .env values, and I will tell Python where my .env file is, or what it's called. Right now, the app.py is in the same place as the .env. They're right next to each other. So I can just specify here that the file is called .env. So this .env is the same as this .env. If I had the .env in a different folder, like say for instance, I had a folder here called config, and I put the .env in there, then I'd have to go here and say config slash .env. Oops, I spelled that wrong. If I'm not mistaken, I think I also need to put a / right here, so too. Yeah, I think I need to do that. So this is me telling Python where my .env file lives. It lives in a file folder called config, and inside that config it is called .env. Yeah? But you don't need to put a config file there. So I'll just remove it from the config folder, put it out on the root or on the outside. Call it .env, and then reference it as where the values need to be loaded from. And then, instead of putting the string here, you will say config, and in square bracket, whatever the name of the string is. So in this case, the string is that. So I'll just put that. Oops, this. So now, my connect string is nowhere to be found in the code. If you want to be able to use this application, since it is dependent on a Mongo URI connect string, you have to make sure that you have a file in your repo called .env, and it has a variable in it called the Mongo URI, and it is equal to whatever the connect string is. So very important, what that means is, if I am marking your work, first thing, you should not leave your connect string in your code, because I'm going to use my own database to test your work. So just because you're writing your code and it works on your database, don't mean that just when I'm testing it, if it don't work on my database, it's because, it's not your database. If it works on your database, it should work on mine too. Because the same code, the code not changing. So I am going to create a file on my workspace called .env that your code will look for. And inside that file, it will look for a variable called mongo_URI, and it will load up the connect string just as I have it here. So mongo_URI is equal to that connection string. Yeah? So as long as you follow the code and do it as I do it, marking should not be a pain and it should work. Make sense? What's that?
The URL.
Copy the URL into the .env file.
So, which part of the URL?
What's that? I changed it to Mongo because this is where my config lives inside of the file. As I loaded up my config values from the .env file. So all of the values inside of the .env are now stored inside my config file, and they're accessed by using config square bracket and then the name of the value. So yeah, now everything in my code is clean and sanitary. Go up. And I can upload to GitHub worry-free. Nobody will be able to access my database. And also, I guess important to note, if you make a mistake and include the connection string in your repository, and then you make a change after the fact, put this here and then commit again, the change, the code, the connection string is still on GitHub. Remember, the purpose of GitHub is to store the versions as they change. So let me show you one example of what that would look like. So I'm going to pull up my ECSE, Week 5, Lecture 1, repository. And if you look at the code, the connection string is not there, right? But it's not there because I realized it was not supposed to be there and I changed it. If you want to go look and see what it was there before, I can go to, where is it? I should be able to go to commits. See, I have 3 commits. So I'm going back in time. This is where I made the change. So it says here, and I added .env support. So this one does not have .env support. So I'm just going to go and click on the code. And there's a connect string. So it's still in GitHub. Yeah. I would have to make the entire repository. Oh, the history? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But if it's a case where you make a mistake and you upload the repository, upload the connect string to the repository, what I would suggest is just delete the repository. So go to settings at the top and go all the way down to the danger zone and just delete the repository and start over. And push again, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's untracked, meaning it. The repository don't know about it. Don't know about it, yeah. So the .env shouldn't be saying untracked. Instead, you should put in your .git ignore like this, and then the U should disappear. Mm-hmm. Just .env. Mm-hmm. Cache and the venv. 2 underscores. 2 before and 2 after. Let me save. Awesome. See, now the U is gone and it's dim. Specific reason for what? Oh. It's actually 2 underscores. Yeah. It's a folder. It's how I explain this? It's a way of making the code perform faster. Wait, did I explain what cache was last time? I talked about Redis last time. I think I talked about cache. Cache is a type of storage that's supposed to be very quickly accessible. Not necessarily local, but yeah, man, I think I talked about Redis. I don't know, you were here last week? Yeah, so I was talking about Redis. I was talking about memory access databases. Yeah, so cache is a type of storage that's supposed to make the operation of your code quicker. So if it's a case where you don't need to calculate the output of a function every single time, just store the value. And instead of calculating it, just reach for the value. So this cache provides some of that quick access to Python. So instead of it performing the same calculations over and over, some of the calculated values are stored in here, and it will just reach for them instead of calculating them and then returning them. But it's not something you need to be concerned about. I have no idea what's in there, to be honest. All I know is that it's not something that we need to be concerned about. That's fine. That's because you just added it. So when you're pushing it to GitHub, you need to make sure that the changes are tracked. So go into the source control, yeah, and you stage your changes and
Week or 6.
This is week 6. What about it? Oh, you want me to? Yeah. Yeah, so now it's on code share. But this should be posted to GitHub as well. And I'll post on GitHub, on VLE. Yeah, it's in the code share now. And also, I'll post it to VLE. Yeah. Any questions? It is because the Python, the VS Code things you're using is that. So you need to use this. Yeah, so it's fine. Okay. Yeah, we can end there. So with that, we have finished what I want to call module 1. Thursday? Thursday coming? Tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday?
No.
You mean next week Thursday? Tomorrow is sports day. Oh, okay. Yeah. We don't normally have class on sports day. Yeah. So. Yeah, I can do it next week. Tuesday? We'll have class on Tuesday. Wednesday. Can you do it on Wednesday? Okay. Okay, so we're not going to have class tomorrow. So we start the new module next week, Wednesday, or maybe Thursday. Oh yeah, we'll have time. 6 weeks left? How much labs gone so far? You've done 2 labs so far. You'll do a 3rd one this week. I normally have 4 labs in module 1. I think. What was your lab? Your last lab. Did it have database in it? No? Oh, I think I know why. I normally have a lab. Is that right? I normally have a lab that is database related to only post and get. And then I have another lab that is all 4. That doesn't sound right. It's fine. If anything, I'll just do 3 embedded labs then. So we're going to start doing embedded stuff next. Or Arduino stuff. So I'll just see if I can create 3 labs for that. Mm-hmm.
Questions?
Mm-hmm.
Can we still keep Thursday class tomorrow?
Everybody would have to agree.
And then I'm our evening class, I can do a class.
Well, we don't have to. Do it in the morning. Or in the evening rather.
Yeah, but I mean, so next week again.
Yeah. So everybody would have to agree.
But wouldn't this be the last class of this?
Yes. If we did have class tomorrow, it would be new stuff, yeah. Online? If you have ESPs, yeah?
Online ESPs?
No, I'm saying it can be done over a call if you guys have your ESPs. Remember, okay, no, actually, let me just clarify. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We don't need to have physical hardware for this course. You can simulate. So as long as your simulation work, then yeah, we can. You can use Walkway. That's what I've been using. Yeah. Yeah.
So, for tomorrow, online class.
That is if we all agree. There's one person that isn't here. That-
Let's text in that group and see if
Yeah. Who's the other person again? Michael. Yeah. Him wear glasses? And him wear glasses? Okay. Yeah. So I'll ask in the group. And we can agree on a time as well. So yeah. We can use our ESPs or we can use simulation and we'll be going through it. Huh? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right. I don't know. I don't use Arduino IDE. You're losing your code? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be showing you how you can run your Arduino code in VS Code instead. And you can push. Same way how we push our code using the source control, we can do the same thing. Platform IO is what we're going to be using. It's... I'll show you. That's true, but you can do it easily in Platform IO as well. I'll show you. But when we get to it. And it's recording.